Hey, this is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this is Thursday, October the 11th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And if you had a difficult time today, you aren't alone. And it was really hard to figure out. Later in the day, it was pretty obvious we were kind of in this downtrend channel. But really, until it was really just hard to tell what was going on. I had a difficult time finding the trend today. This first trend channel here was not very evident, and I was really looking for something down here. And even if you had this, you probably were okay. But you see we had a break there. If you use that trend line, which is what I started with, but we had a break and then two legs up, and we pulled back, and then we took off again. And so that really confused me. So you can't deny the setups here. You got a double bottom with a failed break, and look at that big reversal bar. And, you know, I just trusted the bar, and it worked out for me there. But I wasn't sure what was going on because I was looking at this was the trend line, and then later I'm thinking, well, maybe that's the trend line. But still, you got the break. You still would have had a break, and then you're looking for the two legs up there. So that looks a little different, and I almost think we almost do have a wedge shape right there. But what I ended up doing, and what I really think we had, was this was a spike in channel, and we spiked up right here. And the way I got this was I drew the line off these highs first, and then I just drug it down, and it fit right there. And then, you know, once it fit right there, but I didn't find that till after the fact because I went back. I was just so confused with this, what was going on over here. I just really played with it till I finally figured it out, but I didn't figure that out till after the fact. But you can see we had the trend line break, fairly common what you'd see, but even if you didn't have the trend line, you had the little double bottom with a failed break there. They were reversed immediately, and you got excuse me, it's still to this day when I start to talk a lot, my throat starts to bother me. And but anyway, you had this failed break, this reversal bar, and you had to be thinking we're going to retest this top, and that's kind of what happened. And we tried to sell off, and then I'm going to show you a couple of things here. I'll get into the trades, but that's you know, that was my dilemma to begin with. And so once we reversed up here, you know, again we got a reversal pattern. And I'm going to be honest with you, I ignored this first one. I didn't ignore the second one. I really got lucky here. Unlucky and lucky, I'll explain it to you in a minute. But then we started selling off. So then I'm thinking, well, maybe we're going to spend some time in a range. And it looked like we were going to have a range down here. And we tried to bounce. And then we just turned and broke right on through. And then it looked like it was going to be a failed break lower. We kept trying to go higher, trying to go higher. So then I'm thinking, well, maybe the trend line's way out here, and this is the first break. So, you know, but now that I look back on it, I believe this is correct. And if you see that, we got the channel, the break, two nice measured legs up, a failed break higher, then a retest of that high, and then it was off to the races to the downside. But this threw me today, and so if you saw it and better than me, then great job. And if you didn't see it today, trust me, it was hard to find. Let's go over the trades, and I'll show you what I saw and some of the trades. And I'm going to talk about some of the trades I took that where I was just reading things wrong myself. So this is probably one of the weakest trading days I've had in a long, long time, and it just didn't work out today for me. It wasn't a bad day in the end, but it wasn't a good day. That's the way I'll leave it, and we'll go from there. But let's talk about the trades here. There was a short right here, right at the open. I marked it in green because it just was really a difficult trade. But notice how we've broke higher here a couple of different times. We went, you see how far that move went, and we pulled back, and then this move didn't go quite as far as this previous one. And then this last move went even less. So that's three pushes up to a new high, way away from the EMA. We got this overlap. We broke higher and then ended with a doji. So if you saw that and took that short right there, good trade. But I didn't get in here till right at 8:30. I was a little bit late getting everything opened up this morning, so we were down in this little trading range. before I got in here, so I missed that trade. But I like that setup, and if you saw it and took it, it was a good setup. But it was risky. It's just you know, when you're trending like this, and that's what really threw me today was this big trend, and I was thinking we're going to at least get another leg up, maybe, or try to, but it just wasn't going to be today. And so back to the trades. Then the next trade was here, and based on what I think now is the channel, which is this right here, this was the first break. And but regardless, even if you didn't have this channel here, you had this little double bottom, all this overlap, we broke below it. It looked really bearish, and that's what they try to do. That's what, and basically that's a pullback to this breakout area right here. And look how they came back and took those stops, and even went a little bit further. When it broke one tick lower below that big bearish red bar and closed all the way back up here on the high, it takes some buying to do that. And so going long right there was a good trade. And there's actually a little second entry long in there right here. In case you missed this one, it pulled back and it gave you a second chance to enter, and it just kind of chopped higher. It didn't do a whole lot. There was another chance to enter here. It's not a real good setup, but this is a breakout pullback long, and I really thought we were still probably going higher at this point. Get this back in place. But let me tell you why this is okay. Notice that we pulled back, we went higher, then we pulled back again, and we made a double bottom there. Then we even tested that again and then turned up. So it's a similar setup to this, except it didn't break lower. So one tick above that bearish bar is a second entry long, and that's two tries to go lower. And again, it was an easy trade, nice easy scalp, and didn't take very long. But then we kind of topped out up here, and but notice this tick higher, and then we turn down. It's not really a good place to go short because it's, again, there is overlap. It's away from the EMA, but notice how we turn back up again. You're better off to wait on a second entry or some kind of reversal pattern when you're in an uptrend like this. So, but what I actually did was went long here. Notice all these choppy bars that are, this is generally very indicative of a strong trend, and they don't look like it. And here I was thinking, we're in a strong trend today. We're going higher. And so I went long right here. And that's why I marked it in green, just to remind myself to talk about this entry. I went long right here, and you can see it didn't take but a minute that it was racing back down. And right here was a great short because now you got a double top. You got a reversal type pattern. You got three pushes to a new high. So I reversed right there, and luckily I did. And the thing is, that got me short from the very high of the day, but I didn't ride it all the way down because I got tricked again down here, and I'll talk about that in a minute. There is a breakout pullback short here, but I didn't mark it. It's not a great setup because there's one, two, three bars there overlapping. There's a couple of dojis. This is kind of a doji looking bar here too. Would have worked out. Now, you know, looking back on it, hindsight's 20/20, but you know, it would have worked out. So but I don't like it. It wasn't a great setup. I didn't see it at the time, and if you did see it and you took it, it worked. Good trade, but I just didn't like it. But this was the setup of the day, and it would have got you short from the high of the day. But anyway, luckily I only lost a tick or two right there, and then I was able to make it back up on the way down. And then the next trade, let me talk about this one. I got tricked again right here. I got tricked long right here, and notice that we're on these strong lows right here. I didn't buy this blindly because that was rocketing down pretty strongly, so I wanted to wait on the right setup. So you got your first break higher, and then notice this bar's got a lower high, so a break above that is a second entry long. So I went long right there. There was enough room to try to come back and test this breakout area here. There was enough room back to the EMA, and turns out I just got trapped again. But let me show you something here. When you saw this next little doji right here, when it broke higher and didn't go anywhere, and this ended as a doji, that was your clue. get the heck out. So I got the heck out of that one. And I was thinking I'd wait, let it come back down. It's probably going to come back down and test this and maybe then go higher. And it tried to set up like that, but it never did. And that is a breakout pullback short. Even though we didn't break lower right here, that is good enough to be a breakout pullback short. And so I entered short right there and got a nice little move here. But then next thing you know, we're trying to go up again. And so by this time I was really confused. And you couldn't really find this trend line. I was looking at something more like this. It's awfully steep, but it's definitely a valid trend line. So I was looking at that and thinking, well, maybe that's the trend line, but I knew that's steep, and so it probably wasn't going to hold very long, but sometimes they do. You just never know. We had a big opening gap. I didn't talk about that from the open this morning. It was way down here somewhere. So you know, at this point now I'm thinking, well, that's where we're headed. We're headed down there to fill that gap maybe. But then, you know, we just got stuck right here and there wasn't any more selling. So the way I finally found this trend line, I didn't have this trend line in place until we had these two swings. So then I drew this line right here off these two swings. I copied it, as you can see. Still not exactly right there. For some reason it's close enough, and then I drug it up and then it fits, and then you find the channel, but you don't have that channel until we've made these two lows, and then you've almost got two measured legs, but I'm still thinking a measured leg. And so but anyway, back to these trades up here. But we got hung up in this, so this is where drawing these trend lines will help you. And you can see we didn't get a break until right here, and we never really got a good setup. And then we went, you know, till we came back and tested this high, and then we tested it twice. So that leads me to believe there were a lot of people that were probably still thinking long. It was confusing for them. But then look at the sales that came on after that. Boom. And then you got to be thinking a measured leg. And there's your first leg, and there's your second leg, and look where it went to. That's about where we got to today. So we got most of it in that first move down, and I believe that's why, I mean, this point right here, trying to get below this today, it was amazing the amount of selling that was going on, and they could not penetrate that line. So somebody was buying like crazy across here, somebody with deep pockets, and you can see that's kind of the breakout area from yesterday's highs late in the afternoon, and somebody decided that was a line in the sand, and we didn't get below it until, you know, the last 15 minutes of trading. And even then, look at all the stems there. They finally broke it lower. I was still hanging on to a runner right here, and I was trying to get, I was hoping we were going to fill that gap. And when we broke lower right here, it was 10 after, and I couldn't hang on any longer, so I exited. You don't want to get hung up, and you don't want to take a chance of going past the close still alive, and that's way too late to be in the market. And I was just being greedy because I hadn't had a very good day. And then it bounced on me actually before I could get out, and so when it bounced, I went ahead and closed it. I should have just taken what it would give me down here. But I think I gave back a point or so right there. But I entered way up here, so it was it was a runner, so it was okay. But again, I gave back some more money rather than just exit and take what I had. So but you got a double top here. You look, check out this little trend line. I've been drawing these, and it might have even been like that right there. And then there's your first break, really, your close, and then we went up, and then we made a double top, and right off this line, which, you know, you wouldn't have had that yet though. So there's no way to have this trend line in here unless you're just a really good guesser. You might have drawn it right there, but even then it's kind of iffy. But you might have drawn it right there and brought it over, and you might have found that. I didn't do that because I had this steeper trend line and thought I was looking at something different. So, but if you draw these trend lines, and generally they're off the closes, or at least the short stems, and there you got your break. You got to move up. You tested it one more time, and then off it went. So this was a nice setup. Easy. Your runners were easily safe on that one. You could have ridden this all the way back down, tried to get a measured leg, but when we bounced in here a couple of times, that's a clue to get out. Again, you got another setup right here, and I marked that one in green. And the reason I marked that in green is because it's iffy, and the reason it's iffy is that now I've got this trend line in place. Even if you didn't have it from down here, you should have drawn it off this double top here off the first couple of swings, and we haven't quite gotten back to that yet. Plus, I had this little short-term trend line, and we hadn't broke it yet. So this was the first break of it, and but it's a double top. Notice the double top right here. The one tick break above it. Then we turn down and close. So if you wanted to take that, it does meet our rules, and it's a failed second entry long kind of. We actually had a failed second entry short that turned into a short trap, and then so it's a double trap really, and that's why even though it didn't go down any further than right here, it rocketed so quickly because it had a lot of people trapped more than likely, and so I marked it in green because it's hard to tell what's going on right there, and it's a risky trade, but because of the double trap, really maybe even more than that because we broke higher and then made the double top and then ticked one tick higher again and then turned down. So it was kind of it was a double trap in that it trapped you twice to the long side, but it also had people trapped to the downside that were probably trying to exit. I call those double traps when you get trapped one way, or you think you're trapped one way and it goes the other way and instead traps you back against the trend. Most of your traps are going to be counter trend, and but this one trapped you to the short side and tried to turn up and then trapped you to the long side, and they do that quite a bit, especially on choppy. As hard as this trend was down, it was very choppy all the way. And but anyway, that did meet our criteria. I didn't take it because I had this line drawn. And then the next trade, which was really the last opportunity of the day, and it's really right at the end of the day. But you had two opportunities here. One right here, that's a second entry, kind of short. One leg up, pull back, second leg up. It's coming off the trend line. But notice that little gap right there. And here's a clue. When prices broke lower here and then turned up, and this closed as a doji right here, that was your clue to exit. And so if you took the first one, you should have exited when this closed right here, and you could have exited with one tick because of that close, or actually you would have been right at break even, more than likely. And then we went higher, and of course we made the double top and broke the trend line and then turned down. So there was another chance to enter right there. And but look, it's right at 235, 1435 is 235 regular trading time. And it was a good setup, but it was really close to the limit. And but I took this trade, so there was a chance so I marked it. There was a chance to get on down here. And like I said, I ended up giving back a point or so down here on my runner. If I just would have exited once we broke below down here, I would have been okay. I should have exited as soon as that ended as a doji, and you could have gotten out right in here. Instead, I got out up here somewhere. But anyway, that was it for today. And like I said, it was a difficult day. I know I had a difficult time. Maybe it was just me. I don't know. If anybody wants to comment on how they thought about the day, but I got a couple of emails from today from people that seem to be struggling, but some of those people are still struggling with the same things they always struggle with. They're counter trend trading. When the market's going down, they're always looking for longs. When the market's going up, they're always looking for shorts. And that's what most inexperienced traders do. And but today I could see why it was hard, because I was looking for longs all down in here and all along here, and even up in here I was still looking for longs, and I was wrong for the most part. And even when we got in here, I was still confused, because you would have thought we would have went on lower a little bit quicker. So, but anyway, it was a hard day for me. I struggled a little bit today. Don't know how your trading went, but if you want to leave some feedback, that'll be great. But I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.